Good evening. An independent education commissioner is to be appointed by the government to work with Birmingham City Council. It follows the publication of the Clarke Review into the so-called Trojan Horse plot. In his report, Peter Clarke says there was an aggressive Islamist agenda to impose hardline Muslim views in some Birmingham schools. But he says that the City Council was aware of the issues for more than a year and didn't do enough to stop it. Today, the Education Secretary confirmed that as well as the new Education Commissioner, there will be a review of how the City Council is run. Sarah Falkland reports.
Coordinated, deliberate and sustained. Those were the words Peter Clarke chose to describe the behaviour of some governors and staff at these Birmingham schools. The aggressive Islamic ethos they pushed meant Friday prayers and Arabic lessons, but no music, no drama, no Christmas. But when did it all start? According to this former education troubleshooter, there were obvious signs at the former Washwood Heath School as far back as 2001. He recalls one particular governor's meeting.
This was at another level, really. You basically had white governors sat on the one side of the table, Muslim governors sat on the other, and some of the Muslim governors standing up and pointing the fingers and making allegations of racism.
Birmingham City Council has admitted it was aware of trouble as far back as 2002. Nothing was done for fear of being seen as Islamophobic. The new Education Secretary is seeing to it that the council can never again turn a blind eye.
I have spoken to Sir Albert Bohr and we have agreed that I will appoint a new Education Commissioner within the Council to oversee its actions to address the fundamental criticisms in the Kershaw and Clarke reports.
I'm quite happy with it. I think there are mistakes that have been made by Birmingham City Council, mistakes that have been made by the Department for Education.
Nikki Morgan's also said that she won't hesitate to use the full extent of her powers to intervene further if there isn't sufficient progress. You could say that means that she doesn't have much confidence in how you're running Birmingham schools.
No, come on. She would have to say that. Of course she would have to say that. Such are the failings here that, and it's not just the failings of Birmingham City Council, it's the failings of the Department for Education as well.
Sir Bob Kerslake, the former head of the Civil Service, has been appointed to carry out a review of governance at Birmingham City Council too. His report is due at the end of the year. The Education Secretary is also withdrawing funding at Old Note Academy, one of the schools caught up in the Trojan Horse allegations. The principal there, who claimed she was forced out by hardliners in January, has welcomed the move.
I feel that finally somebody's believing in me, and I was probably the only voice, and I didn't think anybody would believe in me. I thought I'd just be another number, like all the other previous head teachers have just gone. One minute they're there, the next minute they're gone.
The systems and accountability of all schools will now be strengthened, the government says, because of what happened in Birmingham. The Trojan Horse letter may not have been real, but the furore it caused means schools will now better withstand the threats of extremism.
Well, we asked repeatedly to speak to the Education Secretary or a minister from the Department for Education today, but they were unable to make anyone available to be interviewed. Our reporter Sarah Falkland is here. So Sarah, what do we know about this new role of Education Commissioner?
Well, no one's been appointed yet. In fact, I asked Sir Albert Bohr just a few hours ago, did he know who it was going to be? And he said, no, that's yet to be decided. But whoever is appointed will answer directly to the Secretary of State for Education, Nikki Morgan, and also the Chief Executive of Birmingham City Council, Mark Rogers. Now, their job, briefly, will be to look at the criticisms in both of these reports, the Kershaw report and the Clarke report, and also the recommendations. And by recommendations, I'm just looking at the Kershaw report, for instance, things like setting up a task force, perhaps, to deal with complaints about school governors and how schools are run, and establishing a position on how cultural issues should be worked into the school curriculum. So there's quite a lot for them to look at. So nobody's been appointed yet, but bearing in mind the political furore this has caused, I should imagine it won't be too long before they are.
OK, Sarah Falkland, thank you. You're watching Midlands Today. Coming up later in the programme, ignore